Hello, it's Dr. Darnise. Hello. 6 o'clock Eastern on a Sunday. Must be we're going live. I know some people are coming in. I am shuffling the cards right now. Shuffling the tarot. I always start with the collective, a reading for the collective. So I am here on the shuffle. Somebody has joined. Who is it? Tonight we'll be talking about, I might not keep you so long, relationships or spiritual work. We're going to do some practical spirituality because, I can talk about all kinds of things down various rabbit holes in spirituality. And, join me on Patreon and you'll see how we go further down the rabbit hole over there. But I definitely wanted to do something I'm calling practical spirituality. How do you apply spirituality to your own life, right? How do you apply spirituality to your own life? How do you begin to understand your life events, your everyday life events in light of spirituality? And so we'll be talking about that tonight. And so I am still shuffling. Let me see. Oh, I'm dropping. Okay. All right. So let me see. For the collective tonight, what have we got going on? What is reading for us this evening? Put in the chat who's here. Put in the chat who's here. Who is here with me? All right. Pulling some cards. So first card out is Ace of Swords. Hi, Donna. Donna Gilbert. Ace of Swords, which is, so I always tell you that swords are, represent air signs, which are Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. Represent ideas in the intellect. So Ace of Swords is a representation, it has been a minute, Donna, representation of an insight. So, I'm talking about practical spirituality. This is a good card because how do you apply your insights? How do you apply your downloads, right? When you get a download, an inspiration, how do you apply it? Do you apply it, right? Do you understand it to be like a message from your angels, your guides from the universe? And the Five of Wands is like kind of it looks like people are fighting, right? It's a conflict. And wands represent actions and activities, things that we, tasks that we're doing. And so this is a conflict, but a minor skirmish because they only have sticks and not swords, right? So it's a minor skirmish. So, let's see what that's clarified by. The Chariot card, right? Chariot card, one of the major arcana. It represents being in the driver's seat of your own life. It's got a lot of metaphysical additional meanings as well, which we could go into in terms of what all he's wearing there, that apron that he's wearing, and all of his sort of gear that he's got on. He is loaded down with spiritual meaning. Everything that he's wearing, the crown, the moon epaulets on his shoulders, the apron looks like what you'd find in masonry. Like everything that he is wearing is a symbol of spirituality, someone who is initiated or someone who is well situated in their spirituality, right? And uses their spirituality to determine where they're going in life. Right. The Chariot is a fast moving vehicle. Where are you going in life? And the Hangman. So maybe what do we need after the Hangman? A Hangman. Hangman would suggest that we need to look at something differently, right? Hangman would suggest we need to look at something differently, or that we are stuck in our perceptions. We are stuck in our perceptions about something, which is interesting because then it comes up after that, the Seven of Cups. The Seven of Cups looks like there's a whole lot of things to consider, right? Remember, we started with the Ace of Swords, which means the epiphany, cutting through confusion, cutting through mental confusion. So when I say a reading for the collective, then think about how these things might apply to you. What do you need to pay attention to as a gift, like an epiphany, a fresh idea, a revelation? Where have you maybe been stuck? Try not to grab it. Where have you been stuck over having multiple choices to make? Where have you been stuck having multiple choices to make? And what do you need to get with the quickness? Allow yourself to be in the driver's seat of your own life and make that choice. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. Just make the choice. You're in the driver's seat. We are in the driver's seat of our own experience here. We've got a lot of options. Pick one. Be in the driver's seat of your own life. So that is our collective reading. I appreciate y'all for being here. Again, as I said, click on the link in the description after this. I've got a link to our Patreon if you would like to support the channel, like what I'm doing here on Sundays, most Sundays anyway, like what I'm doing here. And then we're going to go further down the rabbit hole and talk more extensively over there. So again, practical spirituality. And y'all let me know in the comments, like, what are some questions that you have? What are some ideas that you would like to hear me talk about in future episodes and future live streams? But I'm going to get us started and we'll see how we go, right? We'll see who else is going to join us. We'll see what we're doing. I see somebody else coming in. We're talking about the power, the spiritual power of relationships. What do our relationships tell us about ourselves? What do our relationships tell us about ourselves? And in this way, I have always said relationships are spiritual work. Now, most people who are somewhat, shall we say, asleep at the wheel of their own lives, most people are going through life on the default plan. It means they don't give much thought to what they're actually doing. They are not actually operating in the driver's seat of their own lives. They are stuck, right? Having minor skirmishes all the time. And they can't ever get to the good stuff that they actually want, right? Stuck. Thinking that relationships are meant to make them happy. People tend to think that, to be in a relationship means I'm looking for somebody who's going to make me happy. I'm looking for that other person who is going to make me happy. That person is supposed to be this, 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 and this. And when we get together, we're going to be happy forevermore, and we should not have any conflict. And if we do have conflict or if we are unhappy, then we'll just split up. And most people are in the rinse and recycle of that kind of relationship. Most people are stuck having relationships where they're looking for the other person to bring them happiness. And when things get to be challenging, to leave rather quickly. I mean, most people, these days, people don't hang through. I mean, I don't know if it's fair to say most people. I will say that most people do enter relationships thinking that they're going to be something that they're just not, that they are designed around love and romance. Most people think that relationships are designed around love and romance and should be about romance all the way through. Now, if you get that, that's the icing on the cake, right? If you're with somebody and you have a great relationship and it is full of romance and fun all the way through, that is a great relationship to have, and there's icing on the cake. But really, because I talk about spiritual awakening, waking up from the matrix here on this channel. We talk about the spirituality of things. This is a vibrational universe, and it is a reflective universe. And so it is always showing us ourselves. We're always meeting ourselves in relationships. We're always meeting ourselves in relationships. And when you have an understanding of what's happening, then you get to understand, oh, I am having an opportunity for growth in my relationships. This is an opportunity for growth because I'm absolutely going to meet somebody who is going to challenge me, no matter how wonderful it is at the beginning, right? I'm always going to meet that. I'm always going to be in a relationship with somebody. At some level, they're going to push a button that I have. They're going to push a button, and I'm going to think they brought that button. Right? Now we can exclude from this conversation at least, or at least put on the shelf, relationships where people are deliberately abusive, but put it on a shelf, not throw it away, because we're going to come back to it. When I say we're meeting ourselves in relationships, I mean that there's some aspect of us that attracts it or allows it. Attracts it or allows it, right? Mostly we are attracting our relationship partners because there is something for us to gain, some healing that can happen if we will allow it to happen. But again, in relationships, most people are staying at the level of skirmishes and not dealing with their own reflection. They're not looking within. And so we miss the opportunity to grow in a relationship, and then we just rinse and repeat with the next person. And this is the way it always is. It's been this way with me. It's been this way with you. I call them repeat performances until you get the idea. We have relationship repeats until you have the idea. Oh, wait a minute. It's not everybody else. There's some of this that's me. I keep having the same type of relationship because I keep meeting myself. And that is the spiritual opportunity, right? So this is relationship 101. This is spirituality 101. Let's make spirituality practical. Let's look at something as basic and universal as relationships, and understand how our spiritual reflection is happening via our relationship. So I call them repeat performances. Most of us are having repeat performances, not just even with romantic relationships, but with our friend groups, with our jobs that we find ourselves in. Most of us find ourselves having the same type of relationships, broadly speaking. Same type of job you find yourself in, same type of job of a like friend group at work, same type of love relationships, same type of friend relationships. Because we are the common denominator in our own lives, right? We're the common denominator in our own lives. So then we have different types of relationships all through life. We are attracting or allowing. So when the person shows up and they're not what we want, like, because people will say, well, that can't be right because I would never, attract someone who was dishonest. I would never want to be with somebody who took advantage of me because of their dishonesty or whatever. How is it that I could have attracted somebody who was a cheater, who was dishonest? We hear about all kind of scams and whatever. How could I attract that kind of a thing? And it's not because you are exactly that. It's not that you're a liar, cheater, stealer, right? It's not necessarily that you are that. Oftentimes, what we meet in that other person is a more extreme version, right? So that we see it, because we might make allowances in our own life for the things that we do. But when we see it in a more extreme level, then we'll be like, ooh, no, that's not right. Every relationship is holding up a mirror. And sometimes it's not so much about who you are in the present moment, it's about who you've learned to be based upon your childhood, based upon your previous relationships. And you're carrying with you a certain vibration and aura, we might say. You're carrying around a certain type of energy, and you are attracting relationships with other people because you have a certain vibrational equivalence. Okay, practically speaking, what does that mean? It means that if you continue to meet people who are dishonest, if you are having relationships and you're meeting people who are dishonest, on some level, you have a belief system that people are not trustworthy. On some level, you've had experiences that have shown you or taught you, or what you got from childhood experiences, early relationships, what you've learned is, I really can't trust people. And so, what you end up attracting are relationships with people who are not trustworthy. And you might say, well, that doesn't seem quite fair because that's the last thing I want. No, it's the last thing you want. But here's how the universe works. It says, let me show you something, right? Because we have free will. The universe, I don't know how however you, whatever you're working with, the name of God, your angels, the universe, your higher self, they say to you, let me show you something. And in showing you something, they are giving us an opportunity to say, you see where you are in your vibration. You are attracting a series of untrustworthy people because inherently you believe that that's all that's out there. You believe that you can't find anybody who is trustworthy. When you meet someone, you insist on giving them a series of tests. Some people want to test people. You get in a relationship, and you're like, well, I'm just going to see what he does. I'm going to see what they do. And when you set up the relationship like that, it means that you don't really trust them. You're waiting for them to fall. You're waiting to see how they're going to disappoint you. Because if you were not waiting for them to disappoint you, you would not be testing them. You'd be saying, okay, well, I just met this person. I'm down. Let's go. But the older we get as humans, we have experiences, and we get, little dings along the way. We get our heart broken along the way. And so we tend to like, well, I got to make sure, I got to make sure, I got to make sure, because, all men are this, all women are like that. You can't trust people out here. You got to do a background check. You got to do all this. Okay, so then you meet people and they just reinforce your own thoughts. Now, again, I said, how is this helping you? How is this helping you to meet somebody who is a liar, cheater, thief? It's helping you because your own guidance system is saying to you, I want to show you where you are. Do you want to grow beyond this? Because there are honest, trustworthy people out there. Do you want a partner who's honest and trustworthy? Because you keep sending up prayers to say you want a person who's not a liar. And that's usually the way people phrase it. They won't say it in the way of like, I really want someone who's trustworthy. They'll say, I don't want somebody who lies. People who make a list about the kind of partner they want. I don't want somebody who lies. I don't want somebody who does this. I don't want somebody. No, the question is not what do you don't want? Nobody is asking you that question. Nobody is saying to you, give me a list of all the things you don't want in a new mate. The question is, what do you want? What do you want? A trustworthy person. Okay, I'm attracting trustworthy people. I'm attracting trustworthy people. I'm attracting trustworthy people, as opposed to, oh, well, I don't know if I can really trust anybody. The next time somebody shows up, I'm going to make sure that I do a background check and I go through their things and go through their phone. Nobody's going to get over on me again. And so the universe says, okay, well, let's try this out. Right? The universe is going to give us the opportunity to grow. Let's try this out and bring into your life a person who's not trustworthy, because it affirms exactly what you've been saying. You've been saying, you don't think that people are trustworthy to have relationships with, and the universe matches your energy. The universe matches our energy. And it says, if you don't think that there's anybody trustworthy out here, then I can't bring you anybody trustworthy out here. Okay, so what's the opportunity in that? The opportunity is, wow, let me go within and check myself. Let me go within and check myself, because apparently I have an idea that is coming to me looking like that. Go within. Where do I need to go and look within myself and fix that? Where might I have gotten an idea that relationships are always, full of untrustworthy people, full of lying, cheating, stealing? Where did I ever get that idea? And so it requires self-reflection, right? And so if you are self-reflective, you will go and think about, okay, when my childhood, I had a certain kind of childhood and it was unstable, maybe. It was unstable. It was this, it was that. You put it together. You put it together. Like, people come to me in coaching all the time, and basically they are I would say, whatever problem you're presenting, it's a spiritual problem, because of the void that we feel within ourselves. It's just our pictures in one way or another. Okay, so when people come to me and it's a relationship issue, okay, we're going in. What was your home life like as a child? What about as a teenager? What about the first time you fell in love with somebody or had a crush on somebody? What happened? When was the first time you got your heart broken? Which was not in a romantic relationship. The first time that we've had our heart broken has come before that, has come from our family unit, and we were little kids. Right? If you had a parent who wasn't there, but they said that they were going to come pick you up and they never showed up. A lot of kids have that situation, right? The one parent doesn't show up, doesn't keep their word. People tell you they're going to take you somewhere, they don't. People tell you they're going to buy you something and they don't. Those kind of scenarios, little kids are like, it's storing, right? And so they grow up thinking, I can't really depend on people. By the time you get to be a teenager, you start dating, early 20s, you start dating, and the recording in your mind is, can't really trust people. I know they said they were going to do this. I know they said they were going to do that, but I don't really trust it. And then you start to have relationships that just reinforce that. Heartbreak happens and you have another relationship and then just reinforces that. So the work is, the spiritual work or the spiritual opportunity is, wow, let me stop this train of repeat performances. Let me stop the train of repeat performances so I don't have relationships that I don't want, right? Relationships are spiritual work because they give us the opportunity to grow into who we really want to be and grow into the relationships that we want to be. That is the spiritual work. That is the spiritual opportunity, because you have to know that you're seeing yourself. Even if it's not that person is you, the person is, they're pointing out, they're leaning on a sore that you have, a sore, something is bruised, something is tender. And just being in a relationship with that person, they bump up against it. They didn't even know it was there. You might have forgot it was there until they bump up against it. And now you have a reaction to something they said or did or didn't do, didn't say right. And now everybody is aware that you have a certain soft spot. Everybody is aware that you have a certain bruise that was there long before that person ever came into your life. You had that already. Now you're in a relationship with them. They bump up against it. You bump up against theirs too. You bump up against theirs and you're like, wow, I don't know why that person responded that way. All I said was, all I did was, like, I know I was late, but they really just exploded. I don't know what all that anger was about. So we have an opportunity to say to ourselves, why did I respond the way I did when that person was late or when that person, um, they lied about, they went to the gym instead of whatever thing, right? A fairly minor fib, we might say. Why did I explode like that? Well, the opportunity, spiritual work is, where did that come from? And then taking maturity, being mature in your development, being mature in your spirituality to say, I'm being shown myself. I am being shown myself so that I can heal it, so that that thing can be healed. I maybe didn't even know I still had that disappointment from when, pick a thing. I had a birthday party and nobody came. I never got to have the, you know, present that I wanted when I was little. I just had to take whatever was given to me. I always had hand-me-downs. Nobody ever cared about, what present I wanted. So it sets up a certain kind of pattern, and it does not go away until we become aware, until we become mature, right? And spiritually mature so that we understand every relationship is going to reflect that to me. And then I, as a maturing person who is beginning to see through the spiritual matrix, oh, this is a vibrational universe and it is constantly reflecting to me, I am having a relationship with myself right here. Am I going to grow from it or am I going to blame other people? Now, what we normally do is we hang out in the same relationship places, blaming other people, getting involved in minor skirmishes, just hanging around the same thing. Meanwhile, we keep praying for a different kind of relationship. And then like we want a new idea. We want a new idea. But then it comes in and we just refuse. We get a new idea and then we're confused. We're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Be in the driver's seat of your own life and do something different. Now, I don't, with these cards, when I do these readings, the collective reading at the beginning, I don't know where it's going to go, right? I just do the collective reading and then I start talking. But then what happens is it's connected to what came up in the cards. And that's why I say it's a collective reading because of who shows up, I can go deeper in terms of what came through on the cards. So again, my point is relationships are spiritual work if we will allow it to be. Because if you're just going to keep blaming somebody else, then you're going to miss your lesson. You're going to miss your lesson. And that only means because there's no one who's going to then, punish you for it. Like God is not like gonna then punish you for it because you missed your lesson. What's going to happen is you're going to have another lesson with another person who is very similar to the last person, right? Repeat performances in relationship means you are going to meet this very similar person, different face, different name, but you're going to be in a situation where you're like, I was just in another situation like this. I wonder why I always seem to be. And if you don't notice it, your friends and family will notice it, right? Your friends and family will tell you, you always end up with so and so and so and so. Why you always end up with these people that you got to rescue? Why you always end up with these people who you wondering where they are? Why you always, right? So if you're saying to yourself, I don't think I always end up with the same type of people. Think about what your friends and family have told you. Think about what they have said. Girl, you always with this kind of person. Why you always you are having repeat performances, and Are you waking up? Are you aware of it? If you're not aware of it, I'm going to ask you to think. So, because otherwise you're ready to have another one. But if you are aware, be glad that you're aware. Wow, I'm so glad that I finally got the divine idea that all these people I'm attracting are here to show me something. They're showing me something. Now, what am I going to do with that? So the next time out, I don't attract or allow the same type of thing to go on in my life. So that I do not allow the same type of thing to go on in my life. We know about red flags, right? We know about red flags, and we have all been in relationships where we miss the relationship red flags, or we just entirely ignore the relationship red flag. Who is like, oh no, I've never, I've always seen the red flag and left. At some point along the line, we have all been in a situation where there were red flags that we missed. And in retrospect, we're like, oh yeah, I missed it. So that means that I allowed some things to continue. Now, sometimes people allow abusers, manipulators, chronic liars. Sometimes people allow those kind of relationships to continue out of a fear of being alone, a fear of being abandoned, a fear of rejection. I mean, a fear of anything. The reason that people will allow a negative relationship or unwanted relationship behavior to continue is because of a fear. Where did the fear come from? It came from a previous kind of relationship with the family unit or another person you've dated or are married to, right? So people will allow themselves to remain in relationships long after they know that they should have left the relationship because of this fear of something. Again, the universe is giving you an opportunity to grow beyond that. So the universe is going to keep bringing you people, scenarios, just like the last one, so that you will have enough well, I hate to say it, pain, you have enough something, an epiphany that finally allows you to say, I won't accept that anymore. And we see people who are in abusive relationships and they keep going back to, even if they get out of one, they get in another one. Even if they get out of an abusive relationship, maybe the whole family comes together to help the person get out of an abusive relationship. They're like, that other person is taking advantage of you. You need to get out. And the person finally does get out and left to their own devices, they will find themselves in another abusive relationship because they are spiritually unconscious. They're spiritually unconscious and they are just acting on a fear basis. They're just afraid. Why better take whoever talks to me? Whoever talks to me, I'm going to talk to them. Anybody who invites me into their life, I'm going to come into their life and hope they don't leave me, right? Like a lot of people have a great fear of being rejected, a fear of being abandoned, a fear of being alone. And so they put up with behavior that they really know they should not put up with. But those relationships get to be more and more unhappy. It will escalate because really your own higher self is trying to say to you, this is not for you, right? This is not for you. So come away from there. And if you're not getting the little nudges, from spirit, spirit is always communicating with us. Always communicating. And if you're not getting the nudges, you know what they say about a hard head? You know what they say about a hard head. So if you're not getting the little nudges from spirit, you are going to get you're going to have a soft behind, right? And I always say, okay, spirit, I got it. Please don't hit me in the head with a brick and I've got blood, right? Okay, I'm trying to get my lesson so that I don't have to keep repeating. I really hope I'm getting my lesson so I don't have to keep repeating. Because once you know that you have been repeating, you've been in the repeat performance cycle, now it's up to you as a spiritually mature person. When you are a spiritually mature person, you know you can no longer keep blaming bad relationships on everybody else. When you're a spiritually mature person, you know you have to say, well, I have been ignoring certain red flags all along because I did not want to be alone or I felt like I was going to be rejected. I have to take ownership of that and grow spiritually so that I will only accept relationships that honor me. I will only get in relationships where I can honor the other person. And that takes a lot of maturity because most people are on the default plan. And that means they will just go with the flow. They'll just take anybody because they look good, somebody has money, or somebody's willing to spend money on them, whether they really have it or not, right? It'll be on very superficial levels that people choose their relationships because they're getting a little short term hit, a short term dopamine rush, right? They're getting a little short term somebody in their bed or somebody to go out with. That's where most people live in terms of relationships. And that's why people can be so distant and harsh with one another. And we see it all over the internet, right? This war between, men and women fighting about this, just so much pain. What I see when I see these relationship like back and forth things, it's pain. It's pain. People are feeling resentful and rejected and less than in every way possible, inadequate. People are basically screaming their own insecurities. And I know most people don't realize that they are screaming their own insecurities, right? Whenever you are pointing your finger at somebody else being less than you, you're telling the world that's how you feel about yourself. Again, that's another spiritual truth right there. It's not hard to get to that. If you feel good about yourself, you will not stoop to fighting in the street with somebody over some name calling or, you know, I see a lot of this, particularly, I don't know what's going on with Black women who are allowing themselves to be judged and critiqued, like rate me or, walk into a room and, which one of these men are going to pick me or which one's not going to pick me. The whole pick me situation on, well, I guess in life, but also on the internet, the pick me. And I just see a lot of, maybe because of my YouTube algorithm, it's painful to watch. Black women setting themselves up to be evaluated or graded. We know what's his name, Kevin, what's his name, who died. And he basically made a name for himself, judging women, telling women that they're not good enough. And also, a lot of the Black men who followed him, he wasn't your friend either because he was telling you that you're not a high value man. That guy, Kevin, told you a high value man has to make $10,000 a month. He had you believing that our greatest leaders, Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, that they would not have been high value because we know they didn't make $10,000 a month or the equivalent. We know that. So he had people hoodwinked with these pick me games, right? Anyway, my point being in our conversation today about relationships being spiritual work, when you see people who are willing to put themselves on the auction block like that, like a pick me person, and you put yourself on I just say auction block because you're really being evaluated and judged. Are you good enough? I'm going to decide if you're good enough. What you're seeing, the person who put themselves in that role, they don't have much in terms of self-esteem. You wouldn't do that. Your value is not determined by what these other people do or say or think, right? So the spiritual growth for people out there who are doing that, who are allowing other people to evaluate your worth, the spiritual lesson is obviously stop doing it. But the lesson for you is, why would I put myself in a situation where I let somebody on the outside validate me? I've got to grow so that I know that my own worth is intrinsic. I have intrinsic worth and value. The spiritual work is understanding I have intrinsic worth and value. Then you don't have to worry about nobody else's critique of you, whether they think you a 10 or whatever they think you, a 10 or a 2. You would never put yourself in a situation for somebody to evaluate. Not that people don't judge, everybody, people judge, but to actually walk into a room and do you think that I'm a 10, or do you think I'm high value? Do you think that I could catch a man? Do you think I could keep a man? Not on, ooh, not on this. There's no scenario where you're going to see me do so. There's no scenario in any of the multiverses where I'm doing that. And not to toot my own horn, I'm just saying I have been, on my spiritual path for my whole life. We actually all have been on our spiritual path our own life. The thing is, do you recognize that we're always on a spiritual path? Do you recognize we are always on our spiritual path? It's just a matter of where you are and what kind of consciousness you have that allows you to see everything that goes on in your life as a reflection of how you think and how you vibe. Literally, we're out here vibrating all the time like the Batman bat signal. We're giving off vibes like a bat signal. And therefore there are things that are going to come and be attracted to that. And we either embrace it or we allow it to stay in our environmental neighborhood, in our vibrational neighborhood. What kind of things do you put up with in your vibrational neighborhood? Do you allow bad relationships to continue in your vibrational neighborhood? Or do you look at them at some point and say, I've already done this, I've already taken this course, I've already passed this lesson, and I'm not repeating it again. So no matter what this person looks like or presents me with when they show up, I know better than to trade my self-worth for something that is meaningless. And your whole angelic team, your whole higher self, God is waiting for you, for us to wake up and say, I am inherently valuable, and I don't have to prove that to anybody. And I expect to meet people in relationship who are going to honor me for that. I expect to meet people to be in relationship with who I can honor that in them. I expect to meet honorable people. And I'll share with you, when I have met somebody and I've had the kind of relationships where they did not turn out to be honorable people, now it is a matter of how long you put up with that. How long are you going to put up with that? Because they've shown you who they are. For whatever reason, they, made it look good, sound good on the outside, maybe fell for it, whatever. We all do. But at the point at which you realize this is not what I thought it was, this doesn't honor me. When you realize this does not honor me, now what will you do? Because if you're spiritually mature, spiritually awake, you'll look at any relationship that doesn't honor you and you will say, I cannot stay here. It won't be a matter of, I can't stay here because this person lost their job, or I can't stay here because, it's not going to be minor little stuff. It's a matter of, can I honor this person? Do they honor me? Do we lift each other up? Are we really do we really vibrate together? Because sometimes, and this is why I say we either attract it or we allow it. Because sometimes it's easier to allow because we can kind of disown it too. We can kind of be like, well, that's them. It's not really me. Or I didn't know. We allow it. And other people, again, ask your friends and family, ask your friends and family. Other people who know you will say something about it. Well, I wouldn't have thought you would ever be with somebody like that. Or I can't believe you stayed with them. Or I can't believe this is the kind of person, because they're seeing something that you're not, that you're ignoring because, again, of the fear. The fear takes over. But when you are spiritually mature, you get your lessons. And that's really what I want to talk about today. And I'm going to wrap it up with that. That's what I want to talk about today is when you are spiritually mature, you begin to see with different eyes. You begin to feel on a vibrational level. You begin to understand that I'm being called to grow via my relationships. Again, it could be your boss who, at your work, at your job, like, some people keep transferring jobs, transferring companies because they're like, well, I'm gonna go over here because I don't like the people over there. I don't like those people over there. I don't like those people over there. Well, when you keep moving, how come you end up with the same type of scenario in different jobs and different offices or different, warehouse, wherever you work? How come it's the same kind of thing for you? Again, you're the common denominator. When you wake up spiritually, you now have to go around to all these different things. You don't have to keep going around to a whole bunch of different people because you get clear for yourself. Oh, I know why I keep attracting the same thing. I'm the common denominator. I have to do some inner work. And when I do my own inner work and clear some stuff out, I'm not going to have to deal with this anymore. This will not be the reflection anymore. When I clear up my own stuff on the inside, this won't be my reflection anymore. When it is your reflection, then you're like, oh, that's still active in me. That is still active in me. And then I'll say this, and then I'm going to go. And I'll say this because it could sound like I'm saying that we all have to be perfect in order to have a good relationship. We have to have everything healed. No, we don't have to have everything healed because we never would. None of us would ever have a good relationship. We just have to be aware. We just have to be mature enough to be aware so we're not blindsided. If you hear yourself saying, as I did in a relationship, wow, this person really reminds me of that person. This person really makes me feel the way that other person made me feel. Wow, I can't believe how much this person reminds me of that person. Well, in that case, what they are representing to you is you had some unfinished business with that other person, that other scenario, and it's back. You have unfinished business with that other person or scenario, and you feel some kind of way about it. You're still carrying it around. Did you know you're still carrying it around? And your universe goes, I'm going to show you you're still carrying it around. And then we're like, oh no, I didn't know I was still carrying that around. Yeah, it needs healing. So your angel is like your best buddy to show you you're carrying it around. It needs healing. And then when we get this out of the way, we'll be that much better off. Again, you don't have to be perfect, just aware to know, okay, because when I see it coming, I'll know to do something different. When I see a relationship coming that doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, I don't have to go through the whole thing to know. I don't have to go through the whole thing. I don't have to take the course over. I don't have to take that course over. Been there, done that. I see it coming. All right, I'm going to wrap up now. Did somebody just come in? Because we're wrapping up now. But again, if you like these weekly live streams I'm doing, do support the channel. I have a Patreon page going. And as I said, we go deeper down the rabbit hole with some of these spiritual topics. And I would be, happy to know what else you would like to hear me talk about on these talks. So you can put in the chat right now, why don't you talk about this? Why don't you talk about that? Or, this idea of, practical spirituality, like we're talking about tonight, relationships or spiritual work, to try to help us put into practical application what we know to be spiritual truth. What do you know to be spiritual truth, but you need to apply it to your life, right? So that when that person shows up in your life for a potential relationship partner, you go, oh no, I did that before. I'm not doing that again because I've grown since the last relationship. And to take responsibility and say, I know I had to do some growing. I had to do some waking up. I had to make a shift. I'm not going to assume everybody else is bad out here. Anyway, so that was what I talked about this evening, relationships or spiritual work. Let me know what you would like to hear more of. Join me on Patreon. As soon as this live stream is over, you will see that I put in the description where you can connect to Patreon. I definitely appreciate you. You're already supporting me over there on Patreon. Yay, you are the best, and I appreciate you. And let's see what else. I think that's it for this week. Donna, if you are still here, reach out. I want to know. Just give me a. Oh no, you missed it. Yes, you did, Lady G. You missed it. 6 o'clock Eastern. I was just thinking about you too because on Instagram we seem to be in the same spaces on Instagram. Every time I'm about to click on something, I see you. It's like she's already been here. No, that one today though. What was it? Be quiet or be next. Okay, y'all might know what we're talking about, but we are at friends on Instagram. Actually, the Southern Witching Hour. She has a great podcast. Put the name of your podcast down there where people can find your podcast. Or you can just follow her on Instagram and you will see all the different things that she posts. And she posts some real good music too. Just put there in the chat so people can see it. But anyway, yeah, I missed it. I'll have to watch. Yes, Michelle, you missed it also. 6 o'clock Eastern. I know you got lives, you got things to do. 6 o'clock Eastern. But fortunately for you, what YouTube does for you is show it again right after this. We talked about relationships being spiritual work. Again, Donna, if you're still here, love to hear from you. Send me an email or something. Love to just get an update, what's going on. Yep, the Southern Witching Hour. The Southern Witching Hour podcast on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere. Yes, also follow her on Instagram. Yeah, so we out here. Lady G. But since y'all are here, you could put real quick before I go. I just asked people, one, to follow me on Patreon. Secondly, some topics that you might want to hear me talk about in the future. This was about practical spirituality, how to apply the spiritual truths that we know to our ordinary lives. That's why I was talking about relationships tonight, because how do you apply what you know to be spiritual truth to your relationship so you're not caught up in relationship repeat performances always with the same type of people when you don't want to be with those type of people? Why are you allowing, right? Are you taking it as a hint and growing spiritually? Are you growing spiritually when you see that thing, that person coming, that scenario coming, and you're like, no, I'm not doing it again? Are you growing? All right. Well, I will see y'all. Let's see, Lady G. I will see. Where were the cards? What were the cards? Oh, what were the cards? Okay. I have to go back to the beginning. It was. I was trying to think. What was the first one? The first one was the Ace of Swords. I always. And then it was. I don't know if I can remember that whole. Look, girl. The whole. I can't do it. It was a Seven of Cups, the Chariot, the Hanged Man, and the Five of Wands. And what that came out to, as we were talking, it was about understanding when you get that download, being attentive and aware when you get a spiritual download, an epiphany, an aha, be in charge of your own life, right? In the driver's seat of your own life, make some choices. Look, you'll get all these choices. You don't know what to do. It might hang you up. It might hang you up when you got all this, right? Spoiled for choice. You don't know what to do. And you get hung up. And then you get caught up in like petty stuff. Petty is five of wands here. Get caught up in petty stuff because you are not able to apply the download that came, right? If you apply the idea, the divine idea, the one that cuts through all the pettiness, allow it to cut through this pettiness, then you can really be in charge of your life in the driver's seat in a good way. Okay. But I appreciate y'all coming on in any case. Now I'm going to go and eat dinner probably. But I appreciate you. Donna, I hope to see you. Send me an email or something. All right. Bye.